Welcome, and thank you for joining one of the SBO expert panels of the Research Foundation Flanders. In this video, we'll get you acquainted with the evaluation procedure in general, and with your role as a panel member more specifically. If this is your first time as a panel member, feel free to contact one of the FWO policy advisors, in case you have any additional questions. In this instruction video, we will start by pointing out the specific characteristics and goals of the SBO program. The evaluation procedure is aligned with this goal, and will be explained in the second section. Next, we'll explain your role as a panel member. First, let us explain the main purpose of our program. SBO is the abbreviation of Strategisch Basisonderzoek, which is Dutch for Strategic Basic Research. The SBO funding program focuses on innovative, use-inspired research that starts from the needs of the field. Additionally, it aims for a sustainable implementation of the scientific results in that context. It is open to all scientific disciplines and fields of application. The name of the program can be broken down in two parts. The first part being strategic, and the second basic research. The term strategic refers to the problem-driven and application-oriented focus of the program. This implies that a proposal should address a specific and unanswered economic or societal need or problem. The term basic research refers to the need to gain additional scientific knowledge regarding the topic of interest, before being able to implement the intended application. An SBO proposal should thus consist of research that may contribute significantly to the international scientific state of the art. When this knowledge is adopted by the stakeholders, it enables the intended economic or societal applications. A key objective in order to realize utilization of the scientific results is to achieve a liaison between the academic environment and the field of the potential applications in the course of the project. This could be economic actors, for example, companies or future clients of spin-off activities, or societal actors, for example government entities or social profit organizations. This should crystallize in the form of an advisory committee that gathers the whole value chain towards the intended utilization. Hence, the executors of an SBO project are not only expected to carry out original high-risk, high-gain basic research, but they also need to display a clear vision on the exploitation potential of the project results. Moreover, they are expected to elaborate on a plan and ultimately engage themselves in activities that will ensure the effective transfer of the research to the economic or societal actors. So in sum, the SBO program is open to all scientific disciplines, and supports high-quality basic research, where the research is not a goal in itself, but rather a means to come to novel economic or societal value creation. An SBO proposal should include a clear vision on the potential for translation into economic or societal applications, as well as a plan to bring the innovation to the field. Finally, we expect societal or economic stakeholders to express a clear interest to engage in transfer and exploitation of the scientific results. Both the scientific and utilization aspects, as well as the composition and expertise of the consortium, are subject to project review. These main dimensions are further elaborated through a number of underlying evaluation criteria, which are explained later during this presentation. In your panel, applications might be evaluated with two different types of finalities. Applicants can choose to submit a proposal to either the economic or the societal component of the SBO program. The finality of the project proposal is determined by the primary nature of the stakeholders who will be utilizing the targeted research results at a later stage. If the planned utilization of the research results will occur primarily through economic stakeholders, for example companies, mainly for the purpose of economic value creation, the SBO project proposal falls within the economic finality component. If, by contrast, the impact and utilization is aimed primarily at societal stakeholders and at societal value creation, the SBO project proposal is considered to belong to the societal component. In any case, SBO research is still far away from the market, and a successful SBO project should initially result in R&D or translational follow-up activities with, or by, the stakeholders. SBO applications undergo a four-step evaluation procedure. First, there is a remote peer review. Second, applicants can respond to these evaluations in the rebuttal phase. Next, there is the thematic panel evaluation in which you are taking part. Finally, a steering committee for each finality of the program performs a meta-review. We'll briefly discuss the different steps, with the main focus on the thematic expert panels. Each project proposal is sent out to at least 4 international reviewers. These reviewers are selected by FWO, and the selection is based on their scientific or application-specific expertise regarding the proposal's subject. The international external reviewers are requested to evaluate the proposals in compliance with the assessment framework, that includes both the scientific and utilization aspects of the project. The recommendations of the reviewers are transmitted in full and anonymously to the applicants, who then have the opportunity to prepare a rebuttal towards the points raised in the anonymized reviews. This rebuttal constitutes an intrinsic part of the project application file. Since most external reviewers only assess one single SBO proposal, the individual reviewer scores may diverge significantly. In order to facilitate the ranking of the project proposals within the overall portfolio, SBO expert panels have been established. SBO expert panels are broad, but topic-specific panels, in which both economic and societal projects can be evaluated. The role of the SBO expert panel is the assignment of consensus scores for the various evaluation criteria. This assessment should be based on the application itself, the review of the external experts, the rebuttal by the applicants, and finally the panel's expertise and knowledge of the field. Besides the scientific excellence, particular attention should go to the assessment of whether the scientific aims and anticipated utilization are grounded in the economic or societal reality and needs, and whether the route to implementation is well elaborated. We'll give you more details on the different steps involved in the SBO expert panel evaluations after explaining the role of the steering committees. The evaluation by the SBO expert panels is followed by a steering committee assessment, one for each finality. The main task of the committee is to put the evaluations performed by the different SBO expert panels in the perspective of the whole finalities portfolio. This should result in a final ranking. Each steering committee thereby reviews, amends, modifies, and ratifies the evaluations performed by the individual SBO expert panels, and then ranks the proposals across all panels. The input of the steering committee is particularly important for projects with an equal score located at the budgetary cutoff. This stepwise procedure should provide a fair evaluation of both the scientific and utilization aspects over the SBO projects in the panel's portfolio. Based on these recommendations, the Board of Directors of FWO assigns the funding within the available budget. The success rate fluctuates around 20%. The project evaluation forms, together with the decision-making arguments, are forwarded to the applicants as soon as the decision is made public, and thus serve as the final feedback to the applicants. FWO's central principle is a bottom-up approach. Project proposals in your panel thus come from a wide variety of scientific topics. Therefore, the evaluation is performed by an interdisciplinary panel, in which you were included for your high-level profile and broad view on science or potential economic or societal applications in general. The panel consists of experts with an academic, a societal as well as an industrial appointment or background. In most panels, also advisors from the Agency for Innovation and Entrepreneurship take part. This agency is the state aid provider for the Flemish industry. These advisors are therefore particularly well placed to assist in the assessment of the application potential and the proposed utilization plan of economically oriented project proposals. They are equally well placed to assess how well these proposals are embedded in the Flemish context. As a helicopter viewpoint on the project is required in this stage of the evaluation, applications allocated to you do not always fit with your core expertise. You're, however, not expected to know everything. Peer review is a group process with inputs coming from multiple professionals having their own expertise and point of view. To facilitate the panel evaluation and to divide the workload within the panel, 2 internal reviewers are assigned to each SBO research proposal. Each internal reviewer is expected to write online a concise report on the concerned project applications. It must take the form of a meta-review. We thus ask you to arbitrate the project file, consisting of the research proposal, the utilization plan, and the expertise and track record, in the light of the assessments by the remote peer reviewers and the rebuttal on the latter by the applicant. This arbitration needs to result in an appreciation that is aligned with the score grid. In the run-up to the panel meeting, your written report aims to streamline the discussions during the panel session. At that stage, it is not to be considered as the final evaluation document, as it is prone to change based upon the discussion in the panel. Your preparatory report should explain the underlying motivation, arguments, and evidence that made you to come to a particular consensus rating. This is of utmost importance for the further internal peer review process by the steering committee. In addition, this argumentation will ultimately be used to give the applicants feedback on the decision. To ensure an active participation in the panel discussion, and to make best use of the different inputs, you are expected to familiarize yourself with all project proposals assigned to the panel. However, no written report is needed for proposals for which you are not assigned as reviewer. The three main SBO evaluation parts, being the scientific value, utilization value, and the capacity and competence of the consortium, are further elaborated through a number of underlying criteria, which are detailed in the SBO score grid. For each of the evaluation criteria, you are asked to integrate relevant comments from the external referees and eventual opposing arguments provided by the applicants during the rebuttal phase, and translate these in a consensus numerical score from 1 to 10. Adherence to the SBO score grid is very important, in order to achieve a consistent and coherent evaluation of all proposals throughout the different panels within this call. The descriptor in the score grids with scores 7 to 8 is considered the baseline for a given criterion. Most criteria contain multiple different characteristics, which should all be fulfilled in order to qualify for a score in the range 7 to 8. Higher scores may be given based on additional elements in favor of the proposal. This can lead to a score of 9 to 10 for a given criterion. Minor or serious shortcomings in the application on one or more descriptors should result in a score lower than 7. Project scoring lower than 6 on one or more of the criteria will ultimately not be considered for funding. Projects scoring at least 6 on each of the criteria are ranked based on the sum of their individual scores. Given their major importance in the context of the SBO program, a double weight is granted to criteria S1, S2, U1 and U2. In addition to a consensus score for each of the criteria, the SBO expert panel also awards a general appreciation score to the project proposal. A general appreciation score of A is awarded if the application meets the minimum quality requirements and is eligible for support, provided sufficient budget is available. If ranked below the limits of the available budget, an A-type project can be resubmitted within the subsidy channel concerned in the next call. A B score is assigned if the application does not meet the minimum quality requirements and cannot be supported in its current form. Shortcomings in the current application should be relatively easy to remediate. A B-type project may be resubmitted in the next call. At that occasion, the applicants must explain how the research and utilization plan has been revised in order to meet the criticism of the previous year, with an emphasis on the criteria on which the score was substandard. Category C concerns applications that clearly do not meet the minimum quality requirements for support. For example, the proposal does not fit the finality of the program, or the project or parts thereof are submitted too prematurely. A C score could also be assigned in case of a clearly negative appreciation on both assessment dimensions or a particular negative appreciation of the scientific quality, or finally because of shortcomings that are difficult to remediate. In case an application is classified in Category C, it cannot be resubmitted in the next call. In other words, a call year must be skipped before a proposal with the same research questions and utilization strategy can be submitted. One internal reviewer will also serve as the so-called rapporteur for a proposal. This person is requested to briefly introduce the application and kick off the discussions during the panel meeting. After the meeting, he or she is requested to integrate the two preparative reports together with what has been discussed during the panel meeting. This needs to be done shortly after the meeting, in order to use its input to the SBO steering committee and ultimately to the applicants alongside with the final decision on funding. Via the FWO e-portal, you have access to the project application and the budget of the project proposal assigned to you. You will also find the score grid for SBO projects there. Finally, it also contains the online referee tool, where you are asked to rate the different criteria and provide your underlying motivation, arguments, and evidence in order to assign a particular score. By accessing these web pages, you declare that you will treat all information enclosed confidentially and that you will not communicate, nor make unauthorized use of its content for scientific or other purposes, and this neither for your own objectives nor for those of a third party. Please refrain from performing the evaluation task when you have a conflict of interest that may interfere with an objective evaluation of the project proposal, such as joint research projects, recent co-publications, etc. In case of potential conflict of interest, please contact us. Thank you again for joining this panel. Please contact us in case you have any further questions or need assistance.